Okay, should be letting people in slowly. All right, hello, I'm just going to give Zoom a minute just to let everyone that's been in the waiting rooms in. I know it can take a few seconds sometimes, so please bear with us and thank you for joining us. Great. Okay, so slowly, I'm just going to start so we can hand over to your moderator for this session and we can get the discussion going. So first of all, thank you all for joining us, and thank you very much to our sponsors for making this event possible. You know, we couldn't be here without you. And before I hand over to your moderator for this session, I just wanted to do a couple of housekeeping bits. So essentially, if you would like to ask any questions to the panelists, and you're welcome to do so throughout the session, you know, whenever a question comes to you, using the Q&A box found in the bottom of your screen. You can also, using this function, upvote any questions that have already been asked that you really like and want answered. And you can do this by clicking the thumbs up. And then finally, if you would prefer to ask your question live, you're welcome to by raising your hand using the raise hand function. And then when we are ready to take your question, I will ask you to unmute yourself. So do be aware in case you have any pop-up on your screen asking you to do that. And so then without further ado, I would like to hand over to your moderator for today's session, Jamie, to take it away.
Thanks, guys, and thanks so much, Capacity. We are honored to be here. Welcome to the final panel session of Global Women in Telco and Tech, entitled We Are the Next Gen of Connectivity Professionals. I'm your moderator, Jamie Scotto Cutaia, CEO of JSA, the premier public relations and marketing firm for telecom and data center companies. And pertinent to our discussion today, JSA also founded WSI, Women Speaking Initiative, in which we invite women leaders who would like to speak at our industry events to go ahead and fill out a profile. We then distribute those speaker profiles quarterly to industry conference organizers such as Capacity Media to enable more equal representation of women and men speaking on our industry panels and keynotes. So if you are interested in wanting to get your voice out there and heard more, please go ahead and check out jsa.net/WSI. And on a personal note, as I was chatting with Chandy earlier, it's been about a year since seeing many of you guys at this conference, and I recently gave birth to a baby girl, Ava Capri, which has made knowledge shares like this one here at GWTT even more incredibly special and important to me and all of us as we collectively strive to give our children a more inclusive tomorrow. So let's get to it. We have an amazing diverse panel of speakers today representing multiple perspectives and multiple layers on the OSI stack as we break down where are the next generation of professionals. How can we entice them into our industry? And then how can we retain and grow them for long-term success? Let's go ahead and kick this off with going around the horn, asking each of our speakers to tell us a little bit about herself, her role within her company, and how she found her company. Let's begin with Chandy, who, as you may remember, last year at this time, she was the winner of GWTT's Global Best Woman in Wholesale Tech and Telecom, and is listed in the Worldwide Power 100 Men and Women in Telecom. Chandy?
Thanks so much, Jamie. I wish we were back in London instead, but hey. So I'm Chandy Ghosh, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer and GM at Inteliquent Emergency Services. And so let me talk about how I joined telecom. So I'm actually one of those lifetime career journey telecom folks. I was hired on campus. I had come here to study from India as a kid, and got hired on campus by one of the incarnations of CenturyLink. So which started as US West, then Quest, and then CenturyLink. So it's been a pretty good ride. And when I was a VP at CenturyLink, Intrado, which is a nationwide 911 company, came to me to ask me if I would help them build this whole, help with their 911 capabilities around the country. So now here, even at this later stage in my career, here I was building a differentiator. So in a lot of the things that I talk about today, These are things that I coach and mentor around the world a lot. And so I will be throwing these little pieces, hopefully pearls of wisdom that people can take away. So I was here building a differentiator in this last third of my career, which is basically 911 expertise and skill sets. And it's really helped a lot. And it's a very specialized skill set. And after Intrado, Inteliquent came to me and asked me if I would start up a 911 business unit for them. And at that point, I went through, again, something that I coach about, which is the imposter syndrome, which a lot of women face. Can I do this now to become the chief operating officer, which means it's much more than just being a technology expert, which is what I was. So now I'd have to do, all the way from sales, marketing, hiring, finances, development of new products, etc. The whole life cycle of building a whole new business unit. But I took on the challenge because I was coaching people to do that, and so that's how I'm at Inteliquent, and I'm just loving the journey.
And we're loving watching you just on your journey and rocking it, and you're such an inspiration for me personally and for many of us here today.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Priyanka Brahmbhatt, Executive Director of Bankai Group. And we should also mention she's a passionate entrepreneur, Forbes New York Business Council member, and UN Sustainable Development Goals advocate. So, so much more, actually. Priyanka, go ahead and let us hear more about yourself.
Hello, everyone. So I started into telecom industry officially since I was 16 years old, because I come from a family who has a telecommunications and technology company. My father started that company when he was 22. So I've seen this industry grow from the big PBX and traditional carrier industry to getting into VoIP and now data throughout the journey. And I was the youngest attendee and the speaker at ITW 2010. I was 16 again. After that, I moved to more of the operational roles of the company, and then I have worked on several projects in the same industry. I got my degree from Fordham for data-driven marketing, and then FinTech for Harvard. So I have been mixed of both the traditional telecom to software to FinTech, and we are basically focusing on the connectivity on the world from where there's communication or financial transactions and all together. And I'm still heading on, long way to go. So that's my story.
Love it. And as we were saying on our practice call, if you will, how important connectivity is, the physical sense, and then as we network together and help mentor each other. Which brings us beautifully to our digital native, Ms. Sarah Kurtz, who's the Business Development Manager of New Jersey Fiber Exchange, NJFX, NJFX, a hub of connectivity down in Jersey. Ms. Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jamie. So ironically, I woke up this morning and looked at the date, and tomorrow is actually my 1 year at NJFX. My first milestone. I know for you ladies, you have many more accolades than I, but that's a big one for me. But prior to NJFX, I actually did intern, so I guess technically I'm already over that 1 year mark. But I interned with NJFX back in college, and after college, I had a computer science degree, and I took that to Verizon and worked there for about 1.5 years doing software development and coding with them. And then I was offered this position at NJFX. So I've kind of, in my 1 year, I've seen, well, I guess in my 2.5 years in the working industry, I've seen, the big companies feel and then transitioned into NJFX, which is smaller in people, but has the same big ideas as companies like Verizon. So I've kind of seen both sides of that. And then joining the NJFX team, I've also been able to travel and meet so many great people in this industry, which has been incredible. In just a year's time, I feel like, the fire hose was thrown at me, and it was quite a pleasant experience, and I'm excited to keep watching it grow, and it's given me opportunities to speak on panels like this with you guys today, so I'm very grateful for it.
And really, it's so fabulous to have you here with us because we want to know how to clone you, basically. How do we bring talent like Sarah more so into our industry, into the fold, get them as excited as Sarah is to be the leaders within our industry. And I can tell you, just meeting her for such a short time, it's she's going to own our industry in just a few years from now. So I'm really excited to watch our talent grow and from Sarah as well as the industry. So as our panel title asks, where is this new talent hiding? Do we have tips? And Sarah, perhaps you can start us off here, but on where can we find them? Where are the best locations, organizations, virtual job fairs, publications? What can we utilize to connect into that right type of talent for our industry? And I know you have a special story.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually, meaning me and Felix, who is the general manager at NJFX, and then we've also joined the Suboptic Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging group. And through those initiatives, we've been doing some outreach to local high schools, which is a great opportunity. I think you have to really get to these kids young. I know personally in high school, I was always into technology, but the subsea industry, it was like, what in the world is that? I never would have come across it if this data center that I'm sitting in today wasn't, ironically in the backyard of my small beach town. I probably never would have had the opportunity. But it was that curiosity and that drive of, hearing what goes on in this building, and it kind of sparked something in me. So I think going to even middle school, high school, colleges, and kind of presenting what this subsea world has to offer is a great way to kind of spark it in these young kids' minds, because you can't really go to, you can major in something in college and absolutely have a successful career here, but there's really so many paths you can take. I was a computer science major, for instance, and now I'm doing sales, so it's a complete 180, but there's so many avenues that can land you in a successful career in the subsea industry. So I think just getting kids excited, they're holding a phone all day and they have no idea, for the most part, no idea how it works. So kind of planting that seed early and generating that excitement, I think. It's kind of like we're hiding from them in a fact that they don't know what this industry, what the telecom subsea industry is all about. So we have to kind of be in their face and say, hey, this is all the cool stuff going on. You can be sales, finance, marketing, engineer, and end up here. So I think that's one particular thing that we can do on our end to kind of put it in their faces, if you will.
Yeah. And Priyanka, how can we educate and reach them a bit more? Oh, I think you're muted, girl.
I totally agree with Sarah because, this is where she said that it starts all young. And I think we have to implant the seed of curiosity into, where's this internet coming from? Like, how does it work? And how does this call hop on? And all those things. And like universities need to start incorporating more majors except for like just network engineering or telecom engineering, because there's so much to telecom. Even for, major like marketing, there's going to be even marketing, there's going to be product marketing and all the subjects, but there's nothing that specifically teaches people how to market a service, which is so soft as telecom industry, right? And it is not exactly tangible, but at the same time, it is fastly moving. Every single day, things are changing. So yeah, we have to push the universities and the educational institutions to incorporate that more. And for that, we as an industry really have to pop ourselves out that how we are doing, how other pop culture companies are getting out there and making people excited. And even the kids in the middle school want to know, how does, XYZ company really works? We have to get out there in that particular way. That's what I think.
Shandy?
Yeah, so I think telecom has always had this, more of a stodgy image, and we have to reinvent ourselves. To both their points, the whole thing is everyone is dependent on telecom. Can you imagine in college or any of these kids, you tell them, we'll take away your phones or your internet connectivity, etc. That would be a huge disaster, right? And they're always looking at, oh God, the bandwidth is so low. They're trying to stream videos and, and complaining. Instead of that, how about we market to them and say, here's your chance. Do something about this industry that, that completely, that you're engulfed in, right? Help us improve it and build products for you. Because, think about it, back in my day, who knew that landlines would be a thing of the past, right? So there are new products that, we want the youngsters to come in and start thinking about all these things and start building it for us. So we have to make our industry much more attractive and sexy. And as we go out into these schools and colleges and all that, we have to have a marketing approach to address these.
I mean, could you imagine dealing with this global pandemic without telecom? I mean,
Can you imagine? Yeah.
It would be scary. So you mentioned sexy. Why would a young rising star choose our telecom and data center companies over, say, Google or Facebook? How do we differentiate ourselves to attract the best and brightest of the next generation? Chandy?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do talk about is during this pandemic, think about it. One of the key things that, you see a lot of social media, right? You're looking at all these tweets, the social media posts, etc. And then if you keep seeing this industry or some organization talking about all these, whether social justice posts, all the things they're doing during the pandemic to help their employees, all the things that we're doing, with the social injustice, BLM things that are going on, and they keep hearing about this industry and this company is doing so much to help people. And then you realize, oh my God, that's something I would want to be involved in. This is so cool that they're doing all these things. I personally, I remember seeing all these posts by Mark Benioff from Salesforce. I'm going, that's got to be pretty cool. So I can imagine how many kids would get interested and involved and wanting to be part of that organization. So those are kind of some of the things that we can do to, get folks, because social justice is huge. As you know, most people want to be connected to a company that wants to do stuff for them, wants to do stuff for society, and wants to do the right thing.
And having new faces, fresh faces, like Sarah and Priyanka to represent and give that voice, that more, it really shows that the company's moving forward and getting more into inclusivity. So with that, what incentivizes the next generation of our industry? Sarah, maybe you want to give us a little insight there, make us cool somehow.
See what I can do. No, I think a lot of kids these days kind of have that mindset of it's more than just a salary. Obviously, a big number on a piece of paper is a very tempting thing, but even more so, the perks, whether it's summer Fridays, whether it's you pay for my gym membership, whether I'm able to work remote. Because before COVID, kids really had so many options. There's so many job opportunities and job platforms out there that, you could put your application out to 55 companies in a day and, maybe you get 10 offers, and then, you have to incentivize them if you really want them on your team and, think that they could provide some value to the company. You have to incentivize them with things that aren't just, a number. So summer Fridays, that really, as long as they're putting in a good effort during the week, it doesn't really cost the company anything, unless you're losing those couple hours on a Friday afternoon. But it doesn't cost the company anything. But I think to millennials and Gen Z, seeing that, whoa, I get out at 12 and, can then travel if I work remote or whatever it is, or they're paying for my gym, and it gives you all these other sort of work-life balance opportunities that I think kids are looking at who, I wouldn't have looked at it even 2 years ago. I got an opportunity and was like, oh, this is great. Sounds like something I would enjoy. And not until I had my feet set would I ask, oh, can I work from home on Friday to just, help my commute? But I think kids are getting a jump on that now out of college to look for those perks that help balance their work and their life.
And go ahead, Priyanka, go ahead.
Yes, so I actually wanted to add on to what Chandy and Sarah said about the how we attract and incentivize the new talent, right? Because there's also like with social justice and all those things, there is always this need for the new generation that, okay, whatever company I am working for, along with a good pay or a good position and good learning ladder, what am I exactly representing outside? So when we talked about connectivity, there's when we have, I think it's time that our industry tells the new generation that when you join this industry, you're actually helping connect the most vulnerable regions of the world to have their basic necessity. Now, telecom is no more a luxury. Like to have a phone, to be able to communicate is not a luxury anymore, right? Which was 2 decades ago or a decade ago. And there are so many places around the world, even in the US, which is the most updated telecom network in the world. During COVID-19, Detroit, so many kids actually went through a rough time to, get onto the Zoom calls and finish their education. And being Forbes Study Under 30, we had this hackathon called in emergency because we had to find a solution. How can we accommodate all these kids without the internet bandwidth at everyone's place to actually even get educated? I think this industry enables people to communicate, to be in touch with the world like everyone else. There is more like an equality, and even with the UN SDGs, telecom incorporation is a big part of it. So I think, that's the message that we have to give, and give them the organized vision of how their, 1 year, 2 year, 6 months plan is going to be if they join their industry, and really, use this occasion of COVID-19 to pull in the talent.
Yeah. Digital divide has definitely been heightened through COVID, and we have the stories, we have the heroes that we can really promote to give our industry more visibility, and provide that necessity of connectivity. Shandy?
Yeah, so this is a unique opportunity for us because of COVID, think about all those college students who are kind of literally left there by themselves. I mean, they have been asked to stay home, do your assignments, turn in stuff, go find your job. It's almost like you're being left behind, being left alone. And here's a chance to provide them that structure of feeling wanted, of being part of something, of being part of an organization. So, we have the opportunity to go out and say, come join us. We'll give you like a 6-month structured rotation into these different organizations, into a different, you can do sales for for a month, you can do marketing for a month, you can do all these different things. And because, how many of us knew back, in the first month of our job, what we wanted to do for the rest of our career, right? So here they can actually experience all these other things and then decide how they want to mold their careers. So we do have this unique opportunity, and we should kind of try and take advantage of this as soon as possible.
And I'm seeing a question come in on the boards here, which actually ties in really nicely with even my next question. But just taking this, sorry guys, throwing a wild card at you. But our attendee had asked, as an early talent, 5 years experience, looking for movement in the industry, how can we talk more about searching for the next company and the culture of flexibility and empowering staff, which kind of ties in nicely as to, can we get better at retention and training internally at our own companies? Priyanka, you want to take the first stab here?
Yes, I think, 5 year, with the attendee's question too, being 5 year in the industry and like wanting to go in and join the new company. I think as an industry also, we are moving to that direction where, we are incorporating the new changes that our counterparts are, and, focusing on to certification program where we give employees that advantage of like, okay, you are certified to do this, something that, this particular company really follows, and it is, kind of talked about in the industry as well. some, very similar to what AWS certification or Google University certification would be. So something like that, every micro company in the industry should be following that. We should have awards for every milestone, individual brand building, because at the end, the employee, when they join your company, they want to build up their brand personally, externally and internally, both the ways. So focusing on that, internal press release for every small thing, this actually gives an idea for both the company, the employee, and their colleagues, that where are they exactly heading, right? And sometimes people might think that they want to switch the company, but when they have this entire track record, they might realize that, you know what, there is no need to switch because there is so much out there. My colleague who was there in the podium, I still have to reach there. Or they can show these achievements to the company they want to switch to for more flexibility. So I think there are many perks, at the same time recognition that is involved, and flexibility, of course. But we are a digital industry, so there is no need in the major parts, especially COVID-19. That's what has taught us that we can work from anywhere, anyhow, anytime, and that makes us most flexible industry. In my view.
Yeah, I agree. Shandy?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, and another topic that I talk a lot about is planning your career and managing to it. And you can never you keep improving and looking at what your impacts are, etc. At some point, if you realize you're hitting a glass ceiling, you have to start looking for other opportunities and plan it that way too. So absolutely, there's internal, external, all kinds of opportunities. One thing to look for in companies is role models. Do you see a lot of that movement? Do you see people there who will mentor you? Again, one of the reasons I travel so much and speak at all these places is to be able to give people the opportunity for looking at, that there are role models in telecom. There are people there that, can help you bounce ideas and thoughts on. And for me, something that's really personal is I'm in 911, and which is a very specialized skill within telecom. And if you think about it, PTSD is one of the biggest issues in 911. I deal with first responders all the time. It's all about first responders. 20% of first responders have PTSD. So how do you provide them resources and capabilities to overcome those, to retain them, right? So and one of the things in the industry across North America, I started Women in 911. And that's one of the areas where it's a safe zone where women can come in and help each other and support each other. And we provide all kinds of mentoring and all kinds of opportunities, webinars and all that, so that they can feel like it's a community. That feeling of community, the feeling of belonging is absolutely critical, especially for women. We thrive on that, and it's absolutely important.
I can't even imagine what they go through on a day-to-day basis, hearing those stories and trying to prevent disaster and get people safe. And what a huge responsibility. And many of these women and men are very young, sort of early in their career path, and having to deal with that. It's a whole nother level. Yep. We have another question. We've talked about searching for talent amongst those at the very start of their careers or earlier, which we all know is incredibly important to the future of the industry. But with the pandemic, seeing lots of people wanting or needing to sidestep into a new role, how can the telecoms industry also take advantage of this group who are likely highly skilled in sales, marketing, operations, etc., but have never worked in telecom specifically? Thanks, Rachel, for that question. Sarah, you kind of...
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to what Shandy said earlier. We have this strange opportunity during COVID. Obviously, a lot of people, lost their job, and industries kind of started to plummet. And being in telecom, we kind of exploded. Everybody needs to stay connected on calls and panels like this, and there actually have become opportunities, which you hate to be cheering on top of the mountain while everybody else is down. But that's the reality of, you know, this digital world we live in. It's that now there's job openings at these companies, and it's kind of our time to go out and say, you know, here's the job openings. This is telecom. Have you never heard of it? This is who we are. You know, the openings are there. If you're skilled in sales, marketing, operations, whatever it is, these are the roles. And like, you know, the giants, Facebook and Google, you know, always kind of in your face, and these are the openings we have, and everybody, you know, kind of gravitates towards those. You have to be out there on social media and all these different platforms saying, you know, we have these opportunities, and, you know, business is going well, and this is us reaching out to you. We know a lot of people, it's like a time of need, and you hate to kind of flip that over, but it is a great opportunity to get people into this industry.
Yeah, this industry, the growth rate has been about almost about 30% across these past 6 months during COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, like, even with, you know, like you said, the question suggests that, you know, there are so many highly skilled people in sales, marketing, and operations, but have never worked in telecom. I think this is part of the problem, that, you know, even the employer gets so worked up on the fact that the person has not worked in the industry. I understand that industry is very different, because we at Bunkai face this all the time. Like, hey, you know what? He hasn't worked for telecom. Like, you know, someone would come and tell us, the management, or, you know, or someone will tell us like, oh, I really love the company, and it sounds really cool, but I have never worked in telecom. I think that's where the change has to occur, that we are looking for talent. We are not looking for industry experts altogether, right? Because then that's a different league. That we have to make that easiness, and, like, you know, we have to be less stubborn when we talk about, hey, you're good in sales and marketing. If you can sell a product, you can sell a service. This is the service. We have to train them. You know, every employee has to be trained.
Let me add an example. Agree 100%. So let me add an example. You know, 911, I was just sharing that, you know, if you walk into a call taker or a first responder's office, they have like 5 different CPEs set up in front of them, right? And they have to pivot between all these, take all that information, and then deal with this crisis, life and death crisis that's going on a phone call, that they have to give advice on and decide what to dispatch and how to help them, right? And these first responders, like you said, are very young, and it's mind-boggling. These solutions, technology solutions, have been in place for about 50 years. And each time we keep adding every few years new capabilities on top of it. We bolt it on. However, if we had a bunch of absolutely new students who came into this field and understood what the challenges were and designed new systems from scratch, I can guarantee they'd come up with these little mobile apps which would do all the AI in the background and get it all taken care of, where this, you know, the first responder just has to make some real clear human decisions based on these options provided by AI, instead of pivoting between 5 different CPE monitors. So those are the kind of things that, you know, it is absolutely, and the IoT world, think about 911, IoT world. I mean, there's so much happening in 911. It's mind-boggling. People take it for granted. It is one of the most challenging worlds that I've been in my long telecom career. And so it's just that we want the younger generations to come in, and it's for every citizen. You're going to benefit every citizen of the country. So what's better than that?
And on the long run, not just citizens of one country are going to benefit everyone in the world.
Absolutely.
With
Absolutely.
the communication, right? So, like, I love that point, because, you know, its connectivity is global. It's beyond. You know, to add to that, if you see that there is this new documentary coming on Netflix of Sir David Attenborough, which is on, you know, how the planet is collapsing and all those things. Imagine if we did not have a good connectivity in this service, we won't be watching this. We won't be aware of everything that is going on in the world if it weren't for people who actually worked in the telecom and the data industry.
Yeah. I mean, this is our time. If we've ever had a platform, you know, we need to leverage the fact that with good training and technology, you know, we can together as a human race across the world connect even during these stay-at-home times and learn and rise above and get this world into a better place. And with that, one of my last questions here is, where do you want to see our industry in 5 to 10 years from now, particularly in terms of diversity in the talent pool? Shandy, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I think it is absolutely critical to have a diverse inbound talent pool. And what I mean by that is telecom has been known, again, back to the stodgy, there's some companies that are trying to break out of the mold, and there's some new companies that are born being, entrepreneurs are starting it, so which is amazing, but there's still a bunch of incumbents that, are trying to stay up with the new technologies and leading some of the good efforts. However, the way to make it succeed is get in new age diversity, gender diversity, bring in minorities, all the new products and ideas and solutions that you wanna sell to the next generation, right? And one of the things I will add to that, the talent pool is everywhere. Even just these last few months about, the remote workers, as well as when you think about the BLM and the fact that opportunities have not been provided to a lot of the people in the inner cities, etc. Here we have now that there's going to be remote, there's so much remote work going on, we have access to that entire talent pool too, right? The industry. So, and that's a second aspect. And the third aspect that I'll leave you with is this whole thing. I'm obsessed with this power of three concept. Basically, what I don't want us to be focused on is being, the token woman that a company hires just to meet a metric or check a box, because the way we get ahead is by having people who are going to support you. The power of three is basically that if you have three women in any part of the organization, whether you're in leadership, whether you're in a certain group within an organization, you want to be able to support each other and pull each other up. So that way you had a combined voice as opposed to a single voice that typically gets trampled on.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that example. And you even mentioned yesterday how you're sitting on at a boardroom table, one gal says something and maybe her male colleague is like, oh, I have a great idea. And you need that other perspective, that other woman to stand up and say, actually, that was her idea. She just said that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's, and one of the things, my next career hopefully will be on a board. And, we have less than 20% of women on boards. And so that's something that, again, last year in London in the same conference, I spoke about women on boards. And I'm very passionate about that too. So, it's important.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that, because what I see that it's happening right now is we have a lot of demand in the industry, but we are not getting the supply that's needed, supply of the talent, because we are so stubborn. I mean, I would say, as an industry, majority of the people are just so stubborn to what they want. They have this set criteria, and with the gender equality too. I have been attending IAW and all these events for a while, and this is my observation, the keen observation. You can't see many women across the bilateral table. Women would go negotiate the rate and whatnot, but at the end, the opposite person would be like, so who is your colleague? I would love to meet your colleague too. They want to meet a male counterpart for the same for the same deal, right? So like you said, Shandy, that is something that we have to break the mold, and this can only happen when we are hiring equal gendered demography, not because to check the box and stuff, but because we are open-minded that, hey, what, we are looking for a talent. We are not looking to be sounding cool or anything.
Yeah, I was just in DC. I was just in DC for an M&A. And I was working with this $50 billion company, and we were sitting at the board table, and they had 12 people on their side, all white men. And on my side, we had 3 of us, and I was the only woman at the table. And so it just is, that's the way it is, and we have to change it. We have to be, pulling. That's why I do so much, trying to pull women up and what I love about this panel itself is, we're practicing what we're preaching. Here we have, all ends of the spectrum, and it's just phenomenal.
Yes, and and like along with that, it's the young talent because oh, what do you know? I have been in this industry for X amount of time. What do you know? I mean, hey, if they don't know anything, why did you even hire? Like, let them do something they know. Like, let them bring what's new on the table and be open to changes. Like you said about how they had a whole pivot in the 5 screen and the person could bring it on one app. So yeah, definitely, we have to stop being stubborn, start focusing on the social angle as well. Like, connectivity is our goal. So as an industry, we should make it a goal. Like, while we are upgrading to 5G network and all those things, we are not even giving the basic network capability in so many regions. There are literally parts in the nearest example I can give is villages in underdeveloped countries like Bangladesh and India and Africa, where a person might be sick, but they don't have any means to call the help, and they have to travel for hours just to get the help. And by the time the person is dead. And so how are we really a developed world if we are not even touching that? So I think as an industry, that's where I see ourselves, like developing more, and there's a need of an hour to do that.
And having the same standard in mind, solving the new problems of tomorrow without any fresh ideas and fresh perspectives, that'll be the end of our industry. Not to mention we won't have anyone to pass the baton to, which actually leads us beautifully into Ms. Sarah.
Yes, I was actually, obviously, as I mentioned, you guys have many more accolades than I do, but it's, Chandi traveling and, spreading her knowledge to my generation and generations after me that I think is so necessary. We need, and we kind of spoke about it in the panel I was on before with my Suboptic group, and we even took a poll, and, everybody's interested in either having a mentor, if you're new to the space, or being a mentor for those new people. So I think it does come down to practicing what you preach, and, it's great to have these panels and say, this is what we want to do, but it's actually going out there and doing it, like, mentoring people and getting them to be as open-minded, like the rest of the industry to be as open-minded, that we can trust the next generation. It's a scary thought, especially in this industry, but like you said, they might come up with a new app or, a new creative way to do it that people who have been in this industry are just, used to status quo. And I think the next generation, yeah, they'll have to learn the industry, and that's what we're all here for, is to kind of teach them and pass the baton on. But it comes to that point where they kind of have to show their worth and do these things. And, it's both sides. We have to trust that the next generation can do it, but the next generation has to also step up and have this creative desire.
I love that. Yes, practice what you preach, for sure. Thank you, ladies, for your amazing insight. Again, Ms. Chandi Ghosh, COO of Intelliquent, Priyanka Brahmbhatt, Executive Director of Bankai Group, and Sarah Kurtz, Business Development Manager of New Jersey Fiber Exchange, NJFX. Thank you also for the amazing team at Capacity Media for giving us this platform. And here's to all of us women and men committed to a more inclusive tomorrow.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I don't have anything to add to that. We have one more session today, so please join us for a great brainstorm and networking session after this. We'd love to hear you guys. We'd love to talk to you guys and discuss so many of the ideas that came up today. So on that, I'd like to thank you all again and close us off for this session. All right, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, guys.